Hey, what's going on, everybody? Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I don't know how the notification is working or whatnot, but I know usually when I set these things up ahead of time, usually I get some kind of notification, but it look like it didn't go out this time. And I think it's because now if you ain't been live in a minute, for some reason, I think they kind of do something to it. I don't know, but I notice when I do that, if I don't go live for a minute and I try to share it out or do the notifications or whatnot, it's real slow at getting a notification out to y'all. So, no. You didn't miss the last, Sarah. I just started. Can you hear me? It ain't saying I'm offline, am I? Can you hear me? It's not saying I'm offline, am I? I'm looking at my other computer like it's still going. Okay. So can you see me? Can you hear me? Okay, y'all slowly coming on in. Okay, that's what's up. Like I say, the notification going out slow, but you know it does. Like I said, I think it does that if you don't go live for a minute. I think it kind of syncs your stuff down a little bit because the algorithm is tripping. It fluctuates up and down. So and then plus, I haven't been putting up content like I usually do. So there's probably a reason why many of y'all not getting it right now. But of course, as the show goes on, you know, more people gonna come in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, to get straight into this show, you know, y'all saw I put a community post on there, man. Y'all already hit that community post. First of all, happy holidays to every last one of y'all, and prayers up for the people down there in Kentucky and everybody who was affected by them storms. Then I had somebody say something about it snowed somewhere and it caved people roofs in and stuff. Memphis did get hit a little bit with the storm too, but I think certain areas got kind of hit harder. So anybody who was affected by tornadoes or anything like that, hey, my heart goes out to y'all. Prayers up for y'all. You know, wish every last one of y'all a speedy recovery. I heard there's a lot of deaths too that happened too. So, man, you know, every day is always something. It's always something. Every day is always something. But anyway, guys, what up, Brian? What up, everybody? So I put up a post about this, and a lot of y'all seen the story that I did about this. And for those of you who is new to this story, I'm going to do a little refresher to y'all on this story. And we're going to be talking about Judah Morgan. And today, like I told y'all in the community post that I made, that the foster mom had reached out to me. The video got to her, and she reached out to me, and I asked her would she mind coming on the show speaking with me, and she said she didn't mind. So we're gonna bring her up in a minute. But for everyone who does not know about this story, let me play a news clip for y'all, and let y'all hear what's going on. Then we're gonna bring in the foster mom. So without further ado, let me let y'all hear what's going on with this story. Oops, wrong one. All right, yeah, let me let y'all hear what's going on with this story.
4-year-old who spent most of his life under her roof died months after a court ordered him to be reunited with his birth parents. Jenna Hullett said she tried to alert the Department of Child Services of abuse happening inside his birth parents' home for years, but was ignored. Tonight, our Madison Stacy has a story behind a heartbreaking case, now prompting new legislation at the State House.
Just everything's a constant reminder. Dandelions. He would squat down and pick up the little flower, the dandelion.
Judah is not Jenna Hullett's biological son, but from the start, he was always her baby boy.
He called me mommy, called my husband daddy. My kids were his siblings.
At 4 years old, he was already a comedian.
Cheese.
He liked to dance. He loved to dance.
Baby.
That's you.
Baby.
When Judah was born in 2017, Hullett discovered he was placed in foster care. As Judah's second cousin, the Department of Child Services arranged a kinship placement so Judah could be surrounded by family. That also meant Judah was required to spend some of his time in the home of his biological parents. Early on, Hullett suspected abuse at the home.
It's very, very sweet and loving up until he would have visits and then he would come home angry.
Hullett says she tried multiple times to alert DCS to the potential abuse, but that they never acted on her claims.
I'm screaming for help and nobody's listening.
But Hullett at least knew he would be safe once he got in her arms. Judah seemed to know that too.
Oh, every time he'd come home from a visit, he'd tell me, "Take off your shoes, Mommy." He knew if my shoes were off, we weren't going anywhere. He wasn't going to visit, we were staying at home. He would scream and they would have to pry him off of me because he did not want to go to visit.
In April of 2021, Jenna says a judge mandated that Judah be sent back to live with his biological parents for a trial home visit. Any further access to Judah would depend on his biological parents, her cousin Alan Morgan and his wife Mary Yoder, who denied the Hullett's access.
And then it went from 3 days a week to just completely ripped him from us, put him with them, and we weren't allowed to visit him. So in my eyes, he was probably scared, didn't understand why we dropped him off there and never came back. I was mourning him then, but I always had hope that we would see him again. I even told my husband I'm going to start writing him letters so when he gets older, I want him to know that we always loved him.
But those are words of love Judah never grew old enough to hear. On October 11th, police found 4-year-old Judah, the boy who loved music and dandelions, dead on a bedroom floor of his parents' home. Court documents show he was found naked, covered only by a blanket and bruises. An affidavit also shows Mary Yoder told police her husband would shut Judah in the basement, naked and alone, dimming the lights as a scare tactic. She said Judah was bound with duct tape and beaten as punishment for not being potty trained.
Only the other thing I can do is try to make sure that it doesn't happen to anybody else. I'm tired of hearing about the system failing children and babies, and nobody should have to bury their child. And although I didn't give birth to him, he was my baby.
And Judah's story has caught the attention of state lawmakers. State Senator J.D. Ford met with members of the Hullett family. He just filed a bill that centers on making changes to what information DCS must include in their end-of-year child fatality report, specifically about children with a previous history of abuse.
We need to get this information, and we need it sooner rather than later. We need to do more.
So Gina keeps pushing, because for Judah, it was already too late.
I'm having such an overwhelming amount of stress. I'm only doing this because I want awareness for other children. I want justice for Judah. It's the only way that I can pay him back, is to try to get justice for him, because it didn't have to happen. It shouldn't have happened. He was happy with us.
Judah's father faces charges of murder and neglect. His mother faces neglect charges. Both pleaded not guilty at an October arraignment. The family is holding a benefit lunch and vigil for Judah in LaPorte tomorrow. We do have more information about that event and details on the legislation inspired by Judah. That can be found at WTHR.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I played y'all that to get y'all caught up on the story for those who haven't heard the story. And so now that we've heard that, hold up, why is this not popping up? Trying to bring up, oh, there you go, okay. Oh, did she drop off? Oh, there you go, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring in foster mom, Miss Jenna Hullett. Miss Jenna, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for joining me and to shed some more light on this story. Your story reminds me of somebody else's story I did a couple of years back. Same thing. A young lady by the name of Rika Roundtree. Her mom was calling DFACS or CPS, however y'all want to call it, to get help for her child because she knew her child was being abused. And just like how you explained it, she said the same thing was happening to her when nobody coming to try to help. And now that the child is gone, now they getting involved. Now, I'm not a father. You know, it's just a lot of people I met in my lifetime who have children that I kind of get cool with, and I say I take them under my wing, and I say I adopted them, but not legally. But I just called them that because I love children. And it's just crazy. So again, I can only imagine how you feeling, and you being in his life the way that you were. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for shedding a little bit more light on this story. But the first question I want to ask you is, if I heard the news article right, you said he was born, right in the time he was born, I mean, CPS was already involved? What was going on with that?
So Judah has a 7-year-old sibling who was removed from his mother when he was roughly 2.5, prior to Judah being born. He's biracial, and he had a significant bruise on his face, so much that it was black and purple. I mean, you could really see it from my understanding. And so he was removed initially for that. And then once Judah was born, he was removed as well, partially from my understanding from the amount of THC in his system. And secondly, because they were worried about his safety due to the concerns with the older child.
Okay. So this, with the kinship thing, how was that working? You know, because that's the first time I ever heard anything about kinship. But I think when I did the video, somebody kind of came in and explained what that was. So how did it work between you and them? You know, did you have it for a certain amount of time? Did you have to take it back to them? Or how did all that work?
So kinship placement is essentially the same thing as foster home. It's just the child is placed with a kin, with a relative. So it's essentially the same thing as being in a foster home, just not with a random stranger. It's usually with a family member. So when Judah was taken, Nary and Alan lied to me repetitively, as they do, because for 4 months I kept asking, when can we see Judah? Because I was up there just after he was born. I got to hold him immediately and everything. And so I kept asking them, when can we see Judah? Can we bring him, an outfit, yada, yada. Kept getting BS excuses of why, there's this going on or whatever. So finally Mary ended up telling me that they were embarrassed that the boys were taken, and that she lied to me because they were embarrassed. So she then told me that Judah had been in foster care for the last 4 months. So in October of 2017, so Judah was born in June of 2017. In October, when I found out, I immediately got a hold of LaPorte County DCS here in Indiana, and I asked them to place him with me for relative care, which is kinship placement. And so in October, 2 days actually prior to my birthday, I got Judah, and we had him from the age of 4 months to just before he turned 4.
Because I didn't know this story was going back in October, because I just pretty much recently got sent the story, I think around about Thanksgiving time when I did it. So I guess that's when everything would start coming back to light, for their trial and this, that, and the third, So let me ask you this, when did you notice his body language and behavior started to change when he go back around them? When did you start to notice this? And if you don't mind me asking, what was he doing to show you that he didn't want to go back there, or he wasn't happy there?
Well, let me say first that, so for the first 2 years that I had Judah, his visits were not consistent.
Okay.
So they would see him periodically, say every other week or once a month. They were just so random. Nothing was consistent with it. So he never developed a bond with either one of them.
Okay.
A lot of times when I would drop him off for a visit, they would actually ask me to stay just so the visit didn't end early, because usually if I wasn't there, he was screaming and having a fit, and they would end the visit early because he was non-consolable. They couldn't calm him down. So after around, when he was just a little bit after he turned 2, when he was able to vocalize, he would either come home and tell me certain things, but out of a 2-year-old, you can't really distinguish, what the truth is. But there's certain things. I've got 3 grown kids. My oldest is 25, my youngest is 20. None of them ever said some of the stuff that Judah would come home and tell me, and you don't just pull some of this stuff out of your ass. A 2-year-old doesn't.
If you don't mind me asking, what was some of the stuff, if you can share, what was some of the stuff he was saying to you?
So, well, before he was actually able to completely vocalize, I asked them to please assign him a therapist, and if they didn't, I was going to. So they did finally assign him a therapist, and once he started seeing his therapist, she was able to help him vocalize his feelings. So what he was doing before he started seeing his therapist is he would come home and he would, so obviously I'm going to cuss here.
No, go ahead. 'Cause I do it all the time. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I only watched your segment on Judah, so I'm not real sure how the show goes. But so he would come home and he would tell me, well, Mary said you're a stupid fat bitch. And so I asked Mary, I'm like, you know, you can have your opinion of me. That's fine and dandy. I really don't give a shit. But when it comes to you relaying that to a child, that's inappropriate. And to me, that's abuse on its own, because he loves me. So you're telling him naughty things about me, and he's looking, you know, he's feeling confused and conflicted because you're telling him one thing, things that are foul, that you shouldn't say to a 2-year-old, and he's coming back and relaying it to me. You know, if you have something to say to me, say it to me. Don't relay it through a child. That's just disgusting, I think. So he would come home and he would lash out severely. He would punch me, hit me, kick me, bite me, pull my hair. But once his therapy started, he was able to start vocalizing his moods, if he was sad, angry. And then once that started, he would tell me, he would come home and say, I actually have a video of him in the bathtub and he has a mark under his eye. And I asked him what happened, and he said, Mary did it. And I said, what did Mary do? And he goes, she hurt me. And I said, what? I said, what did Mary do? He goes, she hurt my eye. And he pointed to his eye, the one that I saw the mark on. He had come home, which I reported this to DCS, and they said they questioned him on it and they found no relativity to it. But like I said, there's not, so I think he was about 3 when he told me this instance. He had come home from visit one day and he told me that Mary stuck her finger up my butt. Like I said, I have 3 kids and they have never come up with off the wall shit like that before. Never. So for him to say something like that, of course, I'm going to ask questions. So I relayed it to DCS, and they kind of snickered about it. Like, oh, that's, you know, he's a typical 3-year-old. They just say things. Not like that. No, not like that. So they said they questioned him and they didn't find anything behind him saying it. So I don't know really for sure what happened with that, but I don't think he was lying.
Before you go any further, guys in the audience, y'all heard me say this a lot. And if y'all don't mind, get that thumbs up for your boy. Appreciate you. Jenna, you said you want to see my segment about Judah, but if you ever go down my timeline and probably check out some more videos, you'll probably hear me say this. I have always said, and the audience can confirm, that when a child goes around certain people and they show us certain behaviors, you need to pay attention to that. Because they're showing you a sign of something. Because a child knows who's good and they can sense who's bad. If you see the child is showing, let me say, negative body language, you may need to check into it. Because we know how children is. When we was children, when we see people, we'd run to them, you know, because we like this person. But if it's somebody who always did something to us, we was always scared to go over there, you know. And I think a lot of people just don't pay attention to that, you know, until it's too late, you know. And I think that's how sometimes a lot of these children get lost because of that. And I also said this, you know, when they say certain stuff, yes, a lot of people may take it as, you know, okay, they don't know what they're talking about. Maybe back in the 80s, when they say stuff like that, you would brush it off, you know, and probably nothing would come of it or whatnot. But we're in a whole different era now. If a child tell you something, whether you believe it or not, it's best to check into it. Better safe than sorry. And I'm with you, because if I had a biological child and they say them type of words, and I know I haven't said them words around them, or even went that far, calling somebody a fat bitch and all that, They getting
Yep.
it from somewhere. They're
Right.
getting it from somewhere. Now I know I got a foul mouth, but I do try to watch my mouth when I am around children because they do mimic us. They mimic what they hear and they mimic what we do. So I
Yeah.
try to limit that down when I'm around children. So, wow. So I'm glad you brought that up because I want the honesty here. I've been saying that the whole time, and from the story you telling me, you just confirmed it. That does happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers, and the youngins, because I want my show to really touch the youngins. Pay attention to your children. Pay attention to their body language. Pay attention to the verbal things that's coming out their mouth. Because I guarantee you, for what you just heard right now, if you wait too late, it's going to be too late. Catch it at the beginning, and I guaranteed you, a lot of these children's lives can be saved. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Jenna. But go ahead. So after that, what else went on?
Okay, so when he was about to, so I'm going to backstep just a little bit. When he was about to, so when I first got Judah, the very first night I got him, I went to give him a bath that evening before bed, and he had a mark on his back. Well, just getting him, I was concerned what this mark is. It appeared to be a birthmark, but I was not positive. So I did take a picture of it. I sent it to the caseworker. So it should have been in his file. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
So summer of 2019, they took Judah from me and stated that they took him to the hospital because Mary, supposedly Judah had told Mary that I kicked him in the back, which is completely false.
Oh, wow.
So they took Judah, they took him to the hospital and said that the bruise on his back was a contusion.
Okay.
When the police worker came out to the house and questioned me and showed me the pictures, I said, I told you guys, go look in his file. He had a birthmark that is on his back, and it should be in his case file, because I sent a picture when I first got him because I was concerned. And it grew, find out, later on, because a bruise only lasts so long. So obviously this is the birthmark. And he's had it the entire time. And they're like, no, the doctor even said it was contusion. I said, bullshit. I said, okay, you tell me in 2 weeks, I bet you're going to have him back in my home, because that bruise that you guys think is that birthmark that you guys think is a bruise is still going to be there. And guess what? 2 weeks later, I had him back in my care.
It was still there.
So I met the caseworker at the LaPorte County office, and Mary was kneeling down telling Judah goodbye. And as soon as she walked off, the caseworker had me park across the parking lot because she didn't want a conflict. So I parked across the parking lot, and I was standing outside my vehicle, and Judah was staring at me profusely. He was wondering, I could tell in his eyes, he was wondering why I hadn't been around for that 2 weeks where I was at, I could just see the joy, but yet sadness and confusion in his eyes. But when Mary walked away, the caseworker had a hold of his hand, and he snatched his hand from her and ran across the parking lot and hugged me so tight. I could tell that he was confused and missed me. A child who, if I was abusing him, he would never have ran across the parking lot and hugged me like there's no tomorrow. Right. But they were constantly falsely accusing me. And even when I asked DCS, isn't this against the law? Because they're constantly throwing out false accusations against me when in reality it is them. I've never been in trouble. I never had to punish my kids. I would just tell them, I know you're better than that. I expect better from you. And that's all it took. Just a little bit encouragement, but a little bit of, hey, you're doing wrong, but you can correct it. And that's all it took with my kids. I would never lay a hand on any child, and I've never been accused of it or in trouble for it until Mary and Alan, but they both are narcissistic. And so anytime, that if you don't give them their way, and this is how particularly Mary is, the mother, I shouldn't even call her that because she isn't a mother, but they're the type of people that if you don't do something for them and do it in a timely manner, they'll stomp their feet, and then they'll use whatever they can to. Judah was just a toy for them. He was a possession that they could use against me to get whatever their way and whatever they wanted, and that's all he was to them.
So before you go any further, so this is another thing I spoke about. So what you're telling me is, when they made false accusations, CPS would come to your house, right?
Yep. Yep.
And again,
Religiously.
and again, the reason I'm asking you that because I talk about this too. For some reason, when it comes to an audience, y'all can confirm. For some reason, when it comes to defect, DCF, whatever the names that they call them, for some reason, when the accusation is false, they write there on the double. But when the accusation is true, they take their time. And I never understood that. And I had people come on my show talk about that, and people in the audience say that, you know, and for some reason, the false accusations get the most attention. It's almost like they know the accusation's false, so they're gonna rush to that one. But as soon as you say something's true, you know, I mean, it just take their time. So, golly, this is crazy. So this story is going way deeper than what it seems like the media is actually putting out. So now I would have to ask you this though. So, okay, do you know if he was the around that time? Okay, when did you find out they were doing all this stuff to him in the basement, as far as him being duct taped and all that? And how did you find that out? And when did you find that out?
So the morning of his murder. So when I had to give them Judah in April to start his home trial visit, which means he would live with them for 6 months, and DCS was supposed to check on him once a month at least and make sure the home trial visit was going okay. Now, mind you, the caseworker literally lives 4 houses down.
Really?
I live,
Really?
yes, and I live 45 minutes away. They had no problem driving 45 minutes to my house to come check on Judah, but never once did they check on him there. And she lives literally 4 houses down. Like, she could have driven past the house and see the disarray and the garbage and all that outside, and that would have raised a red flag, but she couldn't even just drive past their house. So, yeah, I'm pretty livid about that. So I definitely hold, so I keep saying I hold Mary and Alan are the right hand of Judah's murderer, and Judah and DCS is the left hand, because they're all equally responsible. Had they done their job, Judah would still be here. Matter of fact, in August, Alan was arrested for possession of marijuana, possession of scheduled substance 1 or 2, I think. Felony evading police. So I contacted the caseworker, and I sent her a screenshot of my case, which is the documentation, court documentation that is public information of his arrest. So I sent her that, and I said, is this not, because they told me several times, if they screw up during their 6-month home trial visit, Judah will be returned to me. So I contacted them and I said, Alan was arrested. Is this not a screw up? Because from my knowledge, this is almost guaranteed jail time because he had a felony evading police. And not to mention he had possession charges. So to me, that's a screw up. So I contacted the caseworker. I sent her the information. I said, is this not a mess up? She never responded. So I contacted her boss. I said, is this not a mess up? She responded with that I am no longer part of the case, and pretty much told me that it was not my concern anymore. Had they checked on him then, he would still be here.
Let me ask you this before we go on further. Wow. Somebody say the name of the caseworker. I'm not sure if you could do that or not. Then somebody came and said their workers should be charged with the parents also. So which lead me to ask this question right here. What is happening to their caseworker? Because for what you're telling me, they wasn't doing their job. So is anything happening with them? Are they investigating that person?
Not to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Not to my knowledge. As far as I know, so I have a couple of resources, and I know for a fact the caseworker is still employed. Her supervisor and the same CASA, which is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with what a CASA is, but they're supposed to speak on behalf of the children. Well, Judah's CASA did nothing but speak on behalf of the parents, the entire case. So the same case manager and the same CASA that handled Judah's case are on Judah's siblings' case currently.
Oh Lord.
Yep.
They don't
So I do have an attorney. I am suing DCS for wrongful death. It's not going to bring him back, but hey, if I can shine some light on how they are screwing up by the number, then, you know, I even told my attorney I want charges brought against them. And even if they don't get prosecuted, at least if they go in the grocery store or walk down the street, people know who they are, know what they did, and know what hand that they played in Judah's murder. And that enough, it will be enough for me. I don't think that they should have their job. They should not supersede any child's case because they already let him down, and they let his siblings down because the 7-year-old witnessed 90% of what Judah went through. So he's going to need severe trauma therapy. Yeah, it's just, oh.
Jenna, let me ask you this because I don't know if people would call this a conspiracy theory thing. I don't know, but I know I said this a couple of times on the show too, that maybe some of these DCF workers or whatnot maybe developing personal relationship with these people, or maybe getting like something paid under the table or things like that to keep it on the hush hush, you know, and be having these people back so they won't get in trouble. Do you think it may be a possibility that that's the kind of relationship that the caseworker may have had with the parents?
Not financially, no, because they're, how do I put it lightly? They're basically trash. They're just, Mary, for example, was never able to hold down a job. She would stomp her feet, you know, throw her little temper tantrum. She'd either end up getting fired or she quit because things weren't going the way she wanted them to. Mm-hmm. Alan had a job, but it was seasonal, so he wasn't always working. They didn't really have a pot to piss in, to be honest. But so I don't think it was financially, but I definitely believe that they had some sort of maybe not friendship thing, but maybe some sort of understanding, you know, with the case. Just leave me alone. I'm going to do my thing. And she just kind of, from my understanding, I believe the caseworker may have been a little bit fearful of Mary, because she did threaten several hundred times about suing DCS. And the only thing that I did agree with Mary on is that DCS was screwing the case up. I mean, no child should be in care for 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially that young, when they have a bond set with the family that they're with, it's just too hard to transfer over a kid a child or a toddler that young who doesn't know any better. He knew me and my family as his family. He knew Mary and Alan as he referred to them by their first name, Mary and Alan. He didn't want to call them mommy or daddy. Just before Judah started home trial visit, so the 7-year-old always called Mary mother, which I thought was odd. I've always called my mom, mommy, mama, whatever. Mother, it's just kind of twisted, I think. So just before Judah went to live with them, he had come home a couple times from visit, and he said, well, mother said this. And I said, do you want to call her mother? And he goes, no. And I said, well, if you want to call her Mary or mom or mommy, then you can call her that, whatever you want to call her that you feel comfortable with. And he said, but I can't. And I said, why? He said, because she'll get mad at me.
Oh, wow.
So she told him and made him forced him to call her mother. But he came home several different times telling me he was afraid of Alan, that Mary did this or that, or Mary said this or that. And Mary's playing the victim here, which is disturbing, but it pisses me off to no end because I know her personally and I know her demeanor and her behavior, and she plays the victim as, well, I didn't protect Judah because I was afraid of Alan. Okay, for one, my husband comes after one of my kids, I'm gonna take that ass beating. He never would, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I'll take the ass beating. You're not touching my kids. That's what a real mother is supposed to do.
And you know what? And I think a lot of people in the chat room will agree with you. And I say the same thing for a father. You know, you fuck with their kids, they coming after that ass. So I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I'm glad you're speaking on it because that was a lot of people saying in my comment section too. What she means, she's scared of him. No, you ain't scared of him. You watched him do that, you know, and it sounded like you participated in it. So a lot of people say, no, I'm not buying that, you know. So that's enough. Yeah, so I'm glad you're speaking on that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, but she's even, I talked to the detective, I said, I need you guys to understand this is not, so she can sit there and play the victim all she wants. And I need you guys to understand that she's not a victim. I I witnessed personally. So one day I brought Judah over for visit, and Alan was telling, well, the house was disgusting. So I started picking stuff up because I'm not leaving Judah there in a nasty trash ass house. And so I started picking stuff up. And finally, after about 3 or 4 minutes after watching me pick stuff up, they got off their ass and started picking stuff up. And then Alan says to Mary, don't you have a job interview? And she goes, oh yeah, what time is it? And he told her whatever time it was. I don't remember. It was like 9 a.m. or something. And she flipped shit. She got in his face, started poking. That's not a person who is afraid of their other half or whatever.
Right.
You don't poke and prod the bear. If you're afraid of the bear, you don't sit there and get in their face and poke and taunt. And, so I told the detectives, I need you guys to understand that she's playing the victim, but is completely the opposite, because a victim does not poke the bear. You just don't. So her, and the fact that she actually told the detectives that she would put Judah in the basement when Alan is there, or when Alan was not there, that right there tells you that she participated. She was as equally, she may not have dealt the killing blow, but she ultimately, her decisions led to Judah's death just as well. So
I think a lot of people
and
would
put him
agree.
in the basement. Yeah.
Jenna,
And now they're talking about a bond reduction.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm gonna bring it up too. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm bringing it up too.
Okay.
But somebody got a question in the chat room. This is a good question. Okay, before we go any further, here's my question to you. What is Mary to you? What was she to you? Cousin, sister, or who is she to you?
She's nobody to me. Alan is my cousin, unfortunately. The father.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry.
Nope, that's fine.
Well, I don't know if I should ask you the next question, but I guess I can. If Alan talked to you about Mary, somebody asked her, what was Mary like when she was growing up? Do you know anything about her backstory?
I don't know personally. I just know what I was told. So I do keep in contact with her mother. Her mother is very kind, seemingly loving person. In light of all this, she's made a statement to me. I love my daughter, but I don't like her. Her mother and I have been fighting DCS since day one to keep the children away from Mary and Alan. But her mother has told me that I can't remember exactly what it's called, but she suffers from something. She doesn't take kindly to authority. And there's something.
I know what you're talking about. Somebody in the chat room may be able to answer that. I know what you're talking about. I'd heard that before too. They not good with authority, which I think a lot of us kind of like that, depending on how you're trying to get the authority. So wherever it is, I think we probably all got a little taste of that in us. But
Right.
wow.
From what I've gathered when I've spoken with her mother kind of relayed to me in so many different ways that spare the rod, spoil the child. Mary was very spoiled, and if she didn't get what she wanted, she'd stomp her feet and hold her breath until she got it.
One of them things.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Yep. And that's kind of just the way that she's handled everything as far as back as when I first met her. So Alan and Mary got together. They basically hooked up the first night that they met, and she got pregnant with Judah immediately. Matter of fact, when she got pregnant with Judah, she didn't know if it was from her ex or if it was Alan.
Okay, somebody said it's ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. Then somebody said defiant earlier, but somebody said the whole thing is ODD. Thank y'all for that, Juju, and the objection. Thank you. And thanks for everybody who joined. What's up, Josh? What up, Chris Smith? What up, everybody who in the chat room? Thank y'all so much. If y'all haven't, please get that thumbs up and and rest in peace to Judah. We are talking with Miss Jenna Hullett. Is it Hullett or Hullett? Which one? How do I say her name? Hullett. Yeah, I'm bad with words. Yeah. Sorry, I'm bad with words.
That's okay. That's okay.
This is the foster mom, Judah Morgan, and she is giving us a little more details what's going on with the story. So, Jenna, I mean, this story is just all over the place, and
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, and again, because it sounds like what you're telling me as far as Mary goes, it sounds like her mom always gave in to her when she threw temper tantrums. And the reason I want to bring that up because I think that's a bad thing. Maybe here and there sometimes because you just don't want to hear it. You had one of them days, you had a long, hard day of work, and the child asked for something, he'd be like, no, they stomp their feet. No, little boy or girl, just go get it. Just go get it. Leave me alone. Just go get it.
Right.
And they won't bother you no more. But, you know, I can understand they doing it here and there. But when you give them leeway every time they do that, you're going to keep doing it so much that it's going to be too late. And I see it, and I see it now because few people I know that I grew up with, it's almost like we don't put your foot down and trying to let them be adults. They're going to stay under you. Like a couple people I know, somebody I know I used to be cool with, the guy never really had his own spot. And I used to hear how he talked to his mom. And he talked to his mom like she was just a person on the street, cussing at her, and the dad, cussing at him and everything. I'm like, y'all let this man talk to y'all like that, and he still staying in your house? And his mom told me one day where Chris, she said, I bet you think we just let him get away with everything. I said, no, I don't think I know. I'm looking at it, you know?
Right.
So she was like, well, we taught them freedom of speech. Okay. I understand that, freedom of speech. But for what I was taught growing up, grandparents, mom and dad, I'll let you speak your mind, but be mindful who you talking to.
Right.
I'll let you speak your mind, but be mindful who you talking to. And the reason I'm bringing it up because if you let it go on so long and you talking like you tired, you frustrated with it, there's nothing you can do because you let it go on too long now. They grown now. You can't break it now because you let it go on too long. You know? So,
right.
But go ahead. You finna say something. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so for one, I think that's just lazy parenting because you're going to just basically create a monster because you just don't want to, and why I say lazy parenting is just because you just would rather not hear the child, you know, throwing their temper tantrum. So it's just easier to give in. Mm-hmm. And that's not good parenting. With my kids, they have freedom of speech, but they were also taught respect. And they are mindful of what they say and who they say it to, and when. There's always a time and place, and they know that. They're very respectful. They have their, you know, their opinions, and they're smart enough to keep those opinions to themselves unless it needs to be said. So, you know, you just have to instill respect and morality. I mean, to dismiss your child because you don't want to hear them bitching or complaining because you know you just want to shut up and give them their way. That's not good parenting.
Somebody in the chat room say they granted us past last year, and my condolences to you. I know how it is losing grandmother because the one that I had who had a big helping hand in raising me, I still have dreams about that woman to this day. Every time I have a dream about it, no matter if it's a happy or sad, well, I wake up crying because I miss that woman. And she the one instilled in me about children because she ran one of the best daycares. If she wasn't the best daycare, but she ran one of the best daycares down here in Memphis. And that woman taught me a whole lot. And she taught you the consequences of disrespect too. You was going to get one of a few things. You was going to get a knuckle sandwich. Or you was going to get the switches, about 2 or 3 of them tied up. Or the one that I think a lot of people, which I think they need to bring back to this day, but maybe some of y'all in the chat room may still do this. You act bad or you say something bad, here come the soap. Because they mean you got a dirty mouth. So grandma would get that soap and run that water and put that soap in your mouth. And you like, what you do that for? Because you got a dirty mouth. Your mouth need to be washed out. You got a
Christmas
dirty mouth.
story.
Yeah. And you know, and I miss that, and I wish we would have more people like that today. But then again, we might still got people like that today. I don't think it's very many because everybody have to be so careful now when it comes to discipline. You know, everybody think discipline is automatic abuse, which I don't think that's what it is. Discipline and abuse is 2 different things to me.
Right.
You know, but hey, me personally, hey, bring back the dirty mouth thing. Put that soap in their mouth. I bet you won't hear them cuss for a good while. You know.
You know what I used on Judah? I used a little tiny bit of hot sauce on the tip of his tongue, and he never called me a motherfucker again.
I think I heard that theory too, hot sauce. I think I heard that theory too, but I don't know if
He came home
Go ahead.
He came home one day and called me a motherfucker, and I said, "What?" And he said it again. I said, "I can't believe you had the nerve to say it again." So I went in the kitchen And I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do the soap because it could make him sick. And because, you know, they put so much different stuff in everything now.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to put a little bit of this on the tip of your tongue. I put it on my finger, put it on the tip of his tongue. He never cussed at me again. Never.
Way to go. Somebody say they use aloe vera. Oh, I can imagine what they taste like. Ugh, aloe vera. Yeah, I can imagine what it tastes like. So, but again, you know, I think, you know, old methods like that need to be brought back in. I think, you know, it'll make better parenting as well, you know.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. I ain't think about that because with these soaps that they using now, they got so much stuff up in it. Now, you're absolutely right. You know, putting it in kids' mouth, it may not settle so well in this era. But back in my era, I don't think it did with me. I just kept spitting it out for like an hour or so till it finally got the taste out the mouth. And just like you said, I bet you I ain't cuss around my grandma again. I bet you I ain't cuss around her again. So you're absolutely right. So again, good deal. But let's get back to a question that I asked you, or somebody said cod liver oil. I taste cod liver oil before. I don't think it's that bad of a taste, is it? I don't know. But let me get back to what I was asking you. Well, somebody got a question. Somebody said, knowing the situation at hand, you know, why wasn't there any supervised visit place? And yeah, talk about that. How did the visit, was it supervised or not supervised? Talk about that a little bit if you don't mind.
So for, like I said, for the first 2 years, the visits were not consistent, but when they did go to visit, they were monitored. They were supervised. They were supervised for a while, then they went to or partially supervised, then they went to non-supervised. Then Mary and Alan did something that screwed that up. Almost every different facilitator, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there were between 6 and 8 different, within 4 years, different places that had to utilize visits for them, because almost every place that they did visits, the cops ended up called. Because of their behavior and their outbursts. To me, that right there, you can see the kind of character that they are. But you know, BCS would just find somebody else to facilitate the visit. So they would go. They ended up screwing up. So they went from supervised to partially supervised to not supervised, then back to supervised, then therapeutically supervised. There were bits in here and there where Judah did overnight visits, unsupervised. Like I said, in 4 years, a lot went on, so it's hard to keep a timetable, but it was just so sporadic. It was just such a ginormous mess that, you know, it would be supervised sometimes, and it wouldn't be supervised, and you know, it just went back and forth. Up until, matter of fact, we had a benefit last weekend, and there was a young lady that came in there, and she worked for a company that did their last supervised visits that were therapeutically supervised, and she said that, so, okay, I'm gonna step back again. So when Judah was seeing his therapist, she actually told me the last day that she saw him, so she's a black girl, Judah called her his chocolate, and she thought that was just the best thing in the world. And she was the only lady that Judah would be like, he would leave with her and not have a problem. Now, if he knew he was going to visit, he would scream and have a fit. So she was the only person aside from me that Judah would get in her car and not have any problems with going. So I know, like, you can tell, obviously there's something going on at his parents' house that he doesn't want to, because he don't care about being with his therapist. So the last time I saw her, she actually told me, I'm quitting. I cannot see Judah anymore. And I got upset because Judah absolutely loved her. And I said, can I ask you why? And she goes, well, I'm going to tell you right now that you're either not reading my notes or they just don't give a shit what I'm saying, because I'm telling them Judah does not need to be with them.
So even she was saying it.
Yep. So then I'm going to catch you up. So last Saturday when I had the benefit, one of the girls that monitored their visits when they were doing therapeutically monitored visits, just a few months before Judah moved in with them, she had told me the exact same thing. She said either they were not reading my notes or they just didn't care, because I told them, do not put Judah with them, that he needed to stay with you. So this is like 3 people have told me this now. that either they did not care about what their notes said or they just weren't reading them. Because everybody's like saying that they told them that Judah needed to stay where he was at, and they just weren't listening.
Another question, Jenna, if you can ask. Somebody said, how did CPS determine to give them custody when all these supervised visits didn't work out? That's a good question. Do you have an answer for that?
No, I don't. When it comes to DCS, I have no answers because they're just so ignorant. And one of my friends brought up a good point because they keep saying that they're letting the children fall through the cracks. No, they're not. They're pushing them in and covering it up.
Well, yeah, a lot of people been saying that too. A lot of people been saying that, you know. Again, I'm not a biological father, but, you know, I've been doing this, what I've been doing. I've been doing it for like 5 years now. I've just heard different stories, different aspects of people who's been dealing with them, and you get more bad experience than you hear good experience. Because now the thing is, I just don't want to put them out there and say that they just all bad. But however, though, you know, you got all these bad experiences going on, you know, you can't help but to hear the bad, because I actually have a couple of people on the show a while back say, you know, I mean, they had good experiences, you know, it was nothing bad, but, you know, a lot of stuff just, I don't know, like I said, I can't just really speak, I don't know, because I'm not a biological father that went through this, you know, all I know is a couple of years ago, they was called to my house, they was called to my house for something. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you don't have to be a father to care about kids.
Oh no, not that. No. I'm talking about like dealing with CPS. No, I
okay.
Yeah, I want to know. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know I don't have to be a father care for kids because on my community wall, this young lady, who I helped out back in the day, she be keeping me in the loop of her daughter progress. You know, I mean, she ain't telling me everything, but of course, you know, she knew I was there to see the baby pretty much first steps, heard her first words and things like that. And she sent me something last night that just made my day. And I tried my best not to cry because I was so happy to see that. And what she sent me was she's getting ready to graduate. And she made my night when she sent me that. I was so happy. I shared it on Instagram. I shared it on Facebook. I shared it on my community post. And I told her, thank you for not letting me forget her, which I never did forget her. But of course, you know, a lot of times when you separate from people, you kind of go on with your life. Not necessarily mean you don't care, but you just kind of go your little separate ways and whatnot, just do you and they do them. But however, whatever progress that she made, she always had hit me up and say, hey, this is what she did now. This is what she doing now. And she freaking ready to graduate. And that made my night. That really made my night. So, and they let me know she respected what I did for them when they needed help, when I stepped in and helped them. So I thank her. I thank her for keeping me in the loop with her and let me know that this baby is graduating. And I knew she was going to turn out to be a fine young lady because her mama was a good person. She was a good person. So you're absolutely right. You don't have to be a father to be an impact on somebody's life. And guys, y'all get to watch this show, you go to my community wall and see the young lady that I put on my community wall. I am so happy for her. I am so proud of her. So yeah, I'm getting emotional now thinking about it now, you know, because I'm just so happy to see that. So happy to see that. But let me get back to what I asked you earlier. Okay, when did you find out what all they was doing to him, as far as locking him in the basement, duct taping him, and starving him, which I think they said they were starving him too, I believe. Do I get that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you get that word? Who brought that to your attention? And tell me about the day that you got the word that he was gone.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw a little bit. Sorry, I can hear myself.
Yeah, if you're on Bluetooth or speakerphone, you might get a little feedback. I mean, we can still hear you fine though. So go ahead.
Okay. So, when Judah went there in April, I actually started seeing a therapist because, you heard in the news thing, I was grieving then, because Mary kept telling me, "Well, we're going to be a big family. We're going to spend time with each other," just feeding me all this BS, telling me what I wanted to hear. every morning from April until I found out Judah died, I was waking up at 2:44, 2:45 in the morning. Ironically, that's when the first 911 call came in. I woke up at 7 a.m. October 11th. My baby sister, who lives in North Dakota, called me and said Judah's dead. And I said no. And she said it again. I lost it. I threw my phone. My husband was still sleeping. He jumped up. He goes, what? And then my mom called. Or no, I'm sorry. My other sister called. So I'm the oldest of 4 girls. My other sister called and she was speaking to my husband and she told him. We both lost it. Then Alan's mother calls me. I know my sister told me, Aunt Stacy wants to talk to you because she wants to warn you that Alan is on the run and he's armed and dangerous. So they found Alan in the same town where I live in, 3 miles down the road from my house. He don't know anybody down here, so I don't know what he was doing down here. And the fact that his mother made the statement that she wanted to warn me that he was armed and dangerous and on the run. Like, why are you warning me? And why is he down here? Like, he doesn't know anybody down here. So to me, it's kind of like he was coming here for some reason. Maybe because he knew I had guns, and if I knew that Judah was gone, then maybe, like, I don't know what he was assuming or what he was thinking. Maybe he thought that I was gonna, take care of it for him, take care of him for him. I don't know. So I just thought it was weird that she was trying to warn me. But yeah, it was about 7 a.m. that morning. And then I looked at my phone and Mary messaged me on Facebook Messenger. And she made a statement, something to the effect of, Gina, I'm sorry, I should have listened to you, ...
Oh,
and
get out of here.
Yeah, and now this. And then I messaged her back. I said, please tell me it's not true. So about 9 a.m. she calls me and she said, Gina, I'm really sorry. I should have listened to you, but can you tell your sister to stop blasting me on Facebook? And I had her on speaker.
That's what she said?
Yep. That's all she gave a shit about. I had her on speaker. My husband's like, what? And like started going off. And then she hung up. And then like an hour after that or half hour after that, she was arrested. But yeah, that's all she cared about. She didn't care that her son was dead. She only cared that my sister was blasting her on Facebook. Like her exact words were, I'm sorry, but can you tell your sister to stop blasting me on Facebook? Like that's your only concern.
Right.
Is that my sister's blasting you on Facebook? And then apparently she made a statement she made a statement to Alan's brother, Jesse, saying, I guess she texted him or Facebook messaged him and said, your brother's on the run. I don't want him to kill himself. I mean, I can't really lose 2 people in one day. That'll be too hard. Like, he just killed your child and all you give a shit about is him killing himself. Let him kill himself. Sorry, not sorry. You kill my kid, you better kill yourself before I kill you.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was all about, all about her.
Where are the other children
now? They are currently in foster care. I know a family member is trying to get placement of them. I was asked, but and I would take them if DCS was not involved. I just don't trust them. I will not deal with them again. And it's really sad because there's so many kids out there that need a loving, caring home. Mm-hmm. I can't put myself in that position again. And it sucks because I feel horrible for it, but I can't do that to my family again.
I can understand where you're coming from on that. I can kind of understand that. So I guess my question, okay, well, I asked you about when you heard about the duct tape and all that. Obviously, you must have heard that after you found out he passed away. So you heard all that after he passed away, right?
Yeah, when I first was told, I just was told that he died. And then later that afternoon, as the news was airing, I started getting more of the report about the details. I don't know what was harder, the fact of knowing he was gone or the fact of knowing what he went through.
You know, just imagine a child, regardless of color, in that situation and screaming, and nobody's hearing it. Well, the parent obviously hear it, but they don't give a damn. But the child
Yeah.
is screaming for help, and nobody can hear it. Even right there in your face, when you said dealing with the CPS, he was screaming to be saved, and it's like he wasn't being saved. And
Yeah.
I'd have done numerous stories like that where it seems like that the stuff was right there in their face. Children screaming for help, trying to get out
Yeah.
of the situation. But as the story progressed, you would hear that it seemed like CPS wasn't listening. They weren't listening, you know. And now when they are gone, then you hear that they had opened up an investigation. So my thing I would have to say is, why open an investigation now when they were trying to get you open up one, you weren't doing anything. So it's kind of a little bit too late now. So what you open an investigation up for now? What are you trying to prove now that you open up an investigation? What are you trying to prove
Yeah.
now? You know?
So, can I tell you too that so during all this, I felt like my hands were tied. I was, and I've said it to other news affiliations. Um, I felt like pulling my hair out because I'm yelling, please help him, and nobody's listening to me. I went, they were like, oh, you got to go through the chain of command. So I went from caseworker who was, I'm not even gonna say what she is. She was not obviously doing her job. So I would go from her to her case manager. She wasn't doing what she was supposed to be doing. So I went up the chain through that office to the top. When they weren't doing anything, I contacted the LaPorte County regional manager for that region, for that county. And he told me that on 2 separate occasions, they were supposed to file a TPR, which is a termination of parental rights. And for some reason, they did not do that. His exact words were, I'm sorry. All I can do is tell you I'm sorry. I can't change time. He goes, but they dropped the ball. Word for word. They dropped the ball. You think? But he did tell me that they were supposed to file a TPR on 2 different occasions, and they, for some reason, didn't. I know the first time they didn't because of the COVID, which they very easily could have just pushed that, off until the courts were opened and whatnot, but they didn't. There was a second time in 2020 that they were supposed to file a TPR, and they failed to do it again. So he put in place that they were required to do a bonding assessment with Judah. So when we went to court in April, the judge had said, Judah's going to go there. He's going to live there. He's going to do a 6-month home trial visit. We'll see how it goes. And I spoke up and I said, now the regional manager had said that he wanted a bonding assessment done because Judah has no bond with them. He knows who they are, but that's it. He doesn't have a bond with them. He has no connection with them. And I think I read a bunch of information on it. If you rip a child from someplace he has a bond with, and it's a loving home, and he's safe and secure, that child's going to have long-term damages done in the future. He's going to have trust issues. He's going to have maybe even learning issues, disabilities, just an array of issues that he could have possibly had when he gets older. And I said all this to the judge, and I read it from a foster care expert manual. And he said, he asked DCS caseworker, he said, do you think we need this in place? And they said no. And he said, okay, Judah's going.
Wow.
So they didn't even care so the regional manager is that office's boss. What he says is supposed to be golden. Apparently the judge didn't care.
Wow. Jenna, I for you and Judah, you wish at time like this, you wish you had the words to say, but unfortunately there's no words to fix this. And even if it was some words, I doubt if it could bring him back, so there's nothing to fix this, no words, no money, no anything. And I hear a lot of cases where people win money for like wrongful death and stuff like that, and they still not happy because money cannot fix death. Once somebody gone, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
You may help them in financial situations and bills and things like that, but it does not bring back the person that you love. It does not bring them back. So you can give me all the money in the world. it still will make me happy because my son or my daughter or the person who I was raising as my son or daughter is still gone. And can't nothing replace that. Nothing replace that. So
No.
I'm gonna say this to you. And anybody who's watching now, anybody who's watching later. If y'all ever took somebody in your home, no matter how long you took care of them, no matter how long you had a positive impact on them, whatever the case may have been, let me be the one to tell y'all thank you. Because y'all saw a lot of these children need a home and y'all took them in. Just like the personal objection is saying that they took in children along with theirs. I don't know if that's a male or a female, but they took in children included with theirs. And I think I seen somebody else saying that they raised children that wasn't theirs too. You know, I would like to thank all of you who took children in. And Jenna, for what you're telling me, you did your best to try to save them, but it seemed like your words were going on deaf ears too.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I just wish if somebody could say, "Oh, sprinkle some magic just to bring him back," because you look at this picture that I got of him that I photoshopped, handsome boy,
Yeah.
handsome boy, you know. And the picture that I see y'all two with each other, he seemed like he did feel like he was happy with you, you know. And now one thing I noticed, because when I do these shows a lot of time, I pay attention to what's being said and I pay attention to what's not being said. Because I know with a lot of these stories, when people bring in foster children, they talk negative on the bio parents and try to build hatred in that child towards the bio parent. But that's not what I heard from you. I never heard you say, well, I mean, I understand what you said, but it doesn't sound like that you was instilling it in him to hate his folks. And like he developed it himself, that he really didn't too much care for him.
Yeah, I never spoke ill of them in front of Judah, not once, because I think it's damaging to a child. Now, like I said, she would tell Judah, tell me things, and I kind of scolded her for it. You don't have to be a good parent or even smart to know that's just not right.
Right.
Right. I wouldn't want to instill any kind of anger. He was a loving, very loving, caring person. He loved everybody. He cared about everybody. So I wouldn't damage him by foul-mouthing his biological parents. I could have my opinion of them, and I can state that to them myself. I'm not going to say anything to him about them because it's not right. So if I have something to say, I'm going to say it, but I'm not going to put it through a child.
Well, and for that, I don't blame you, and I commend you for it. Because I think with something like that, you let the child decide how they feel about them. That's what I believe. Let them decide how they feel about them. Because here's my thing that I always say: children don't forget. What you do to them, you may think you got away, but trust me, they don't forget.
No.
They don't forget. And if he hadn't been alive today and older, excuse me, he wouldn't forgot none of this stuff. He wouldn't forgot none of this stuff. And probably had a whole lot of hatred towards them. So you sent me this, and I want you to hear me out what's going on with this, because we have a motion filed, defended by counsel files motion for a bond hearing. Yonder Mary Elizabeth, it was filed on the 6th. We had another order issue, court orders that a bond investigation be completed and sets bond hearing for January the 7th at 8:30, and that's for Alavia. What? Some Thomas. I just say Thomas.
Yeah.
Havens, Giuliani K. Then we got a service issue, copy of order email to the probation. We got an automated notice issue to parties. Look like all this was done recently. Then we got a hearing. Okay, so pretty much you just showed me this the hearing that they set for their bond. Well, for her bond,
Yeah,
I don't see his name. I just see her name.
Yeah, he doesn't have one.
Okay.
So her bond, her bail right now is $100,005. So they're trying to get her bond reduced. To me, she should have murder charges, but God forbid they let her out. I don't think I'll be able to cope. I don't know how I'll be able to deal with that because, like I said, to me, she is just equally as responsible. She tortured him. She allowed it to happen. She admitted to the police that she put him in the basement. So I wholeheartedly believe she's just as responsible, and for her to be released, Judah's not going to get any justification, but I can do what I can do to try to save other kids in Judah's honor. But them letting her out, just basically to me would be a spit in my face, spit in Judah's face. Yeah, his life mattered so much more than that. He could have been a doctor, he could have been a lawyer, he could have been a teacher, he could have been anything, but they took that from him. They didn't give him that option.
And yeah, I'm hearing that. Jenna, one last thing I want to ask you. I want you to tell me how you felt about this, because when I read in one of the news clips, she wanted to be let out of jail to go to his funeral. This is what I said. I said, I mean, does she want to go to the funeral because she's feeling guilty, or she want to go to the funeral to pretty much kind of spit in his face that she allowed this to happen? You know, just kind of spit in his face. So when you heard that she wanted to go to the funeral, what did you think? Well, you laughed, so I think it's obvious. I think we know how you felt about it. But what was the first thing you thought when you heard that she wanted to go to the funeral?
She wouldn't be safe.
And that's what they said too. That's what they said.
Because I can't say exactly what I would have done. Because it was her parents and her brother at the funeral, and her grandmother, and me and my family. It was a private funeral. So when we viewed Judah's body, it was the day before the funeral. I wish I wouldn't have seen him. It did not look like him.
Was it that bad? It was that bad?
Yeah.
Wow.
So when my husband and I, when we went up for the viewing, it was open casket. They said it wasn't going to be because he was so bad, but it ended up being open casket. So I brought a hat up there that Judah wore when he was about 2, and it didn't fit him anymore. I brought it up to put with his toys and stuff, because we put toys around we had the funeral director put toys and whatnot around his casket. And at a glance, I could see that they put his hat on him, and it fit. And it had not fit him since he was 2. That's how small.
Wow, that's how small he got. What happened? Wow.
But I think they put that hat on him to cover the damage done to his head. I'm not positive, but I'm an assumption, because I know that he had damage done to his head, and I'm assuming they put that on there to cover his head.
Right.
Right. So the funeral was private, and my first thought when I heard that is, what if I seriously go temporarily insane? Because I will jump over anything. I will jump over anybody to get a hold of her. Somebody posted, so I have a Justice for Judah hashtag at the end, Facebook group. I have people from all around the country. I have people from the UK, Australia, Philippines that were standing together to try to stop any other child from going through this, or any other parent from losing their child, or foster parent from losing their child to this. It's got to stop. But it's got to stop. This is just ridiculous. So I started this group in Judah's honor. We want to change laws. We want to help other people going through similar things. When I started the group, somebody that was affiliated with Mary had posted their conversation with Mary in my group. In the conversation, something goes to the effect of Mary making statements that she hated Judah, that she never wanted him, that she needed to find an adoption for somebody to adopt him, that he was pissing all over the place and he's disgusting. Everything that came out of her mouth in this message, I would never imagine somebody saying about a child, let alone their own child. You could tell by the messages that she absolutely had no love for him. She just didn't want me to have him. She hated him because he loved me and he loved my family.
Jenna,
But to
the
answer your
the
question,
the
yeah,
the
I
the,
would have
the,
probably strangled her.
the fact that you said that, because somebody did send me some screenshots, but they told me I can't confirm it. They sent me some screenshots to my phone, and I said, and I asked them, I said, where did this come from? They said it came from Facebook. I said, who is it about? They said it's about Judah, and I think it's the mom. I said, can you confirm that? They said, I can't confirm it, but this is what's being said, and I think it said the exact things that you just told me. So to you who sent me that to my phone, it just been confirmed right there. There was his mom speaking like that. There was his
Yep.
mom. Wow. Wow.
And I got a message from another young lady about a month ago that pretty much said something very similar, and that Mary had made comments to several of her friends that she hated Judah and that she was going to end up killing him. And the young lady that sent me this message said that it was definitely premeditated. Now I forwarded that to the detectives. I asked the young lady, can you please, tell these young ladies to come to me? I don't want them to get in trouble, but I need this information because I'm afraid Mary's going to get off. And she said she would try, but nobody ever came to me. And I don't have patience when it comes to a child and their safety. Judah's gone now, but if it can prevent some other child from getting hurt, then I'm going to do whatever I got to do now. I don't have any patience or any tolerance for a child or an animal or elderly, somebody who cannot voice for themselves or defend themselves against any monster. I'm going to do whatever I can do. I'm going to say whatever I got to say. And so I didn't have the patience to wait for her to contact these young ladies. And I knew that they weren't going to come forward anyways, probably in fear that they might be incriminated, that they knew something might happen. But the fact that Mary made these statements prior to Judah's death validates that it was intentional. She knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, she knew it was going on. Yeah, she knew it was going on. Well, you know what they say, Jenna, what happens in the dark comes to the light. You're going to run for their life so long, but eventually their light will catch up with you. So, I mean, and that's for everybody. So you're going around doing dirt, their light going to shine on you. Just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. Jenna,
Yep.
with that being said, I thank you for taking the time to come on and share more light on Judah's story. Sorry for your loss. Sorry for him that this happened to him. Don't know if the person who sent you my video in the chat room, but I remember when I posted on my community wall. No, when I did the video, somebody came in and said they know you personally, but when I tried to go to the message, YouTube deleted it. And YouTube got this thing where they just delete messages erratically, and I don't know why they do that. Because a lot of comments don't be bad comments, but they'll delete them. And I was like, damn,
Yeah.
I said, damn, I can't find this person. No, I need to find this person. I can get in contact with you. But Lord and behold, I
Right.
just so happened to look on Facebook. You found me.
Yeah,
I said, how cool is that?
Yeah, she told me about it. So I don't really know her personally. We recently met because I had shirts made for Justice for Judah. So I met with her to give her, I did decals, bracelets, and shirts. And so she had purchased a couple, and she had reached out to me later on that afternoon and said that you did a story on Judah and that you were from Tennessee. And whatnot. So I was like, well, I'd really be interested in, giving him a little bit more information because I appreciate what you're doing. So she led me to your channel, and I watched the videos that you did, and then I was like, I bet he's got Facebook, and I just looked it up, and there you were.
I'm not that hard to find, so I'm glad that you did find me. I'm glad you did find me. Well, Jenna, thank you so much. Again, I don't know what the words to say to send you off, but my prayers are with you. I just say that. My prayers are with you, and hopefully Judah will get justice, because a lot of children are not getting justice, but that's one of my platforms for. That's why I speak on this, to at least help bring awareness to where people can hear, because I see some people who coming out chat rooms, other, not if not mine, but other content creator chat rooms, and say that a lot of time when we do these videos, it does get the attention of some of these people to look deeper into what's really going on. And I've even heard some channels, they probably help get some of these people out the streets. So I'm like this, whatever it takes to help solve a situation, I want to be part of it. So,
Right. Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to say I appreciate what you're doing, for the simple fact, now I've heard a lot of times people will come to me and say, well, so let the Gabriel Fernandez trials, Judah's story, things, a lot of people are, well, I can't watch it. It's too hard. You know what? It is hard. That child through that. And if you turn if you turn a blind eye, it's going to continue to happen unless everybody opens their eyes and realizes this is going on every day. Until we do something to stop it, it's going to continue to do it.
And one of my main things I want to point out to you is the past few stories I did, it always involves CPS for some reason. They in the middle of it somewhere. And that's what's getting me, So, but other than that, Jenna, thank you so much. Then, you know how to contact me. So, any updates come up, please let me know. And I'll be more than happy to bring it back if you'd like to speak on it. Or I'll keep the people updated on the story. All right?
For sure. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem. You take care, all right?
Yep, you too. Thank you.
All right, no problem. No problem. Happy holidays to you. All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Jenna, the foster mom of Judah. And it's sad. People, it's just sad, it's just sad, that just CPS just be right there, and nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. But again, she just confirmed it. But if somebody make a false allegation, they right there on the double. And I find it kind of odd right there that the caseworker stayed 4 houses down from them. So wow, that's why I had to ask her. Do you think it was some under table cash going on or something? Or did they have a hush relationship, or what's really going on? You stay 4 houses down and don't see the foolery that's going on. How you not see that? Or you just look at it like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit. I go down there when I feel like it. It ain't my day to go down there. So I don't know. But wow. Yeah, Kerr, I saw you kept making comments about that. You about the CPS down in Indiana. You said they crazy. You said, I know the Indiana CPS, they are corrupt. They did you wrong. Wow. Yep. Right, Diddy. Right. And that's what we're hearing a lot lately. Well, guys, like I told you when I first made the community post about this young man's story, I told you the foster mom, they reached out. Took a little time to get her on because of our work schedules and things she had to do. But as always, we finally made it happen. Know the story. The parent, foster parent, brother, kinfolk, whoever it is related to the child, got wind of it, come on the show, sheds light on the story, and we always hear those same words when we get through. I appreciate what you're doing. The more I do these interviews with parents and family members, the more it shows me I know I'm doing the right thing. And to hear them tell me that I appreciate what you're doing, y'all just don't know how much that means to me. And to have y'all come back and tell me, I appreciate what you're doing, Chris, y'all in the audience, that means a lot to me. It really does. And don't get it twisted. It been plenty of times I thought about just stop doing this shit because listening to this stuff, just like she said at the end, man, this shit can make you nuts. This shit can make you go insane because you're tired of hearing the same shit over and over again. Been plenty of times I thought about stopping this shit, man, because this shit is crazy. But on the other end of this sword, the more I do it, the more I say to myself, I can't stop doing this. You know what I'm saying? Because I like what I do. I like what I do. I can't stop doing this. And I think I got a good support system while I'm doing this. A damn good support system. And y'all have given me some major support since I've been doing this. So I want to thank y'all. No matter how gut-wrenching this shit sound, a lot of y'all stick here and listen. Y'all stick with it and listen. And I appreciate every last one of y'all. All right? Wow. Man, crazy. So crazy. But guys, as always, happy holidays to every last one of you. Stay tuned for more stories like these and more updates, which I'm going to try my best to keep tabs on this and see the update on this. And see if she actually gonna get let off. I'm curious to see if she's gonna actually get let off. You know, I think that's something very interesting to see if she's gonna get let off. Nothing to say, man. You the best. I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Somebody just hit me up on Facebook and say, don't ever give up. The children need your voice. The person who just sent me that message, it just made me think about the young lady who I put on my community wall again. And I was telling somebody last night, I said, man, I swear I'm trying my best not to cry because I am happy to see that. I am happy to see that, to know that I was some part of that young lady's life. And how we hear stories of a lot of these children falling off and things just go all the way left. Her mom sent me that to show, look what your girl done did. She finna graduate. That touched me. I mean, that just made my night. It just made me, and I just kept telling somebody last night, I'm trying my best not to cry. I'm trying my best not to cry, you know, 'cause I was just happy to see that when she said that to me. So for you who just sent me that, you just made me think about her again. And can't nobody ever tell me I don't give a shit about children. Nobody ever tell me that, you know, 'cause I know where my heart is at. I know where my heart is at. All right, guys, y'all be safe out there. Take care of yourself and each other. And please, guys, if you think something going on with your children, please listen to them. Please listen to them. I'm your man, Chris Thorns, and see y'all next time. Peace.